Okay, before you get started, you gotta make sure that you're tuned properly. We are in drop D tuning. And what that is that this low E string right here is tuned down to a D. Everything else is standard tuning. First thing that comes in with the guitar is this. All right, it's a D power chord, but what we're doing is we're just hitting the open string. So we're hitting this D string. Now remember, this is a D, and the open A and the open D. While the keyboard's doing this. All right, we're going to join that in a little bit, but while the keyboard's doing that, we hit that a few times. Okay, then we come in with an intro lead part, and this is how it goes. So this is in a D minor key. Another thing to note, if you've got this whammy bar, you really want to use it if you can and really make yourself sound like him. It's not like required. It'll sound really good because he really gets very aggressive with his whammy bar on this song. So to start, we're going to bend at the 4th fret, whole step. All right, that's all on the G string. And then we come up here. And, all right, this is actually part of that D minor chord, but we're going to be up here. So we're sliding to 7, 6, 7, back to the intro, and then we're gonna hit this harmonic. All right, again, it's on the 7th fret, it's on the G string. You've got this whammy bar, you're gonna wanna use it. Then we go back to this thing again. That 2nd fret on the D string to the open D, and then you got the low D string. You sort of do a little dive there. Then, now you're going to play this part up here. So we're way up here at C. That's on 20 and 19 on the high E string, and then you're going to bend on 20. And then just really quick go back to the D power chord, and then you're going to join the keyboard. You're going to join in what Geddy's doing, so you're going to go. So this is part of, I think, a G7, although you're not hitting the G. So you're going to bar here on the 10th fret on the top 4 strings, and I put my little finger on 12 on the B and then on 12 on the D with my ring finger. Right, and then you're going to go down to this chord. We're going to slide over here, and these 2 fingers are going to be on the 10th fret on the E and the B string, pointing fingers on the 9th fret on the G, and then the middle finger you also going on the 10th fret, but on the D string. And go back and forth. Use your right hand to create those stops as best you can. 2 times. All we're doing here is 3, 5, open D. And then come back up to this again. That's how you're going to do it through, I guess that would be called the verse section. Now we're going to come up to the 2nd section. It's like the B section or whatever this, I don't know what this is called. It's the verse or is it, whatever it is. We're going to play this part here. We're working off of this D minor bar chord right here, but keep this barred because you're going to lift these fingers up and come to the barred finger still. So hit that low D string before you do it though. A couple times, and then you go here, you're over in the C sus position. You're going to change notes right here where this little finger is. Leave your middle finger on the 4th fret on the G string. So you're going to play that. All right, so putting those 2 together. And then slide that shape all the way up here to the 10th fret, which would be like a G sus. But you're mostly going to focus on those high strings. So put that together. You hear a little bit of that slide in there too on that A string. So it's optional, but I think he does it. All right, so you do that a bunch of times, and then we get into what I'm assuming is the chorus. So the let me go over the chords real quickly for you, and then I'll show you how the picking pattern goes. We're going to start with the C sus right here, C sus bar chord. This comes in a lot here. Then we're going to go up to a D sus, but we're going to be lifting lifting our little finger up to the barred note here on the 5th fret. Then you're going to go down to E minor. Now remember, this is a low D, so we play our E minor like this. We have to press down that 2nd fret on the low string there. All right, and then we're going to go into this F. It's not a major 7, it's a F something. This is an F note right here, and this is part of the F bar chord, except we're going to use an open B string. All right, so most of the time we're going to do one exception in a minute. So the picking pattern, all right, that's on the B and the G string section of that chord. Chord again on the D, and you just lift your finger up, and you're just gonna hit that single note, the G on the G, right? So E minor, you can do something similar. G, open B. Now we're gonna get to this F chord. A really easy way to do this, because it's kind of a unusual positioning. I slide my little finger over, drop my ring finger on that 3rd fret. We're gonna mute that A string, and we're gonna drop the middle finger on the 2nd fret on the G. And you do the same thing. We did that earlier, so chord, just like we did on the E minor chord. And we did it a couple times. Now, each time they go through this, they're kind of subtracting a part off a little bit. So the first time, I don't remember how many times it is. You'll hear it. But when you get to the rockets regular, when he says the words rockets regular, that's usually my cue. When I get to the C sus, now I'm going to hit the same chord shape here, except we're going to go with the high strings, E, B. The D is the same way. And then we're going to go down to the E minor, same as we've been doing before. And then we go to this F. Now we're going to do something different here. You're going right down the scale. So just 1, 0, and then on a B string, we're going 3, 1, 0. And then we go back to the C sus. When you do that, you're going to play that same thing you did the one time before. Right? And then you go to the D. And then down to the E minor, but we're just going to do the power chord version. So we're just going to hit the low 3 strings. So you can just do one finger and let that ring out. Or you can do it here, like however you want to do it. There's no arpeggiation here. You just hit that, and and we go back to where we were in the beginning. Hit that E power chord. We're going into the next verse. Now, before the verse, we do not do we don't go there. We just go right to the keyboard part. And we go right back and play that exactly as the keyboards are doing. And then everything else is the same. For the solo, a lot of the scale is in the C major. So we're going to start with 2 harmonics, 7th fret, D string, B string, and then we're going to go here. This chord right here, we can play it here too. This is part of an F. I do it here. I'm on G string 5th fret, this B string 6th fret, or you can play it up here. You can borrow it on the middle 2 strings on the 10th fret, whichever one. And then, all right. Now there's going to be a lot of vibrato bar happening here, all right? So I'll point it out, but just be ready. You got to kind of have your hand ready to go with that, with this vibrato bar. We're up here on this position here. We're on 15 to 12 on the E, 15 on the B, back to 12 on the E, and then we're going to... So let me put that in together. Still between 15 and 13 on the B string, and you're going to bend again. That bend there is 14 on the G. And we're going to go back down to the 5th position. Sliding 7 on the D, 5 on the G, and then we're going to play the 8th fret on the B string. I think he'd actually slide from 10 down to 5. Sometimes though, I'll bend it. I think he's done it both ways, but on the recording, I think he slides. And then we go back up to this other position here. And notice we're just going back and forth between this position. Right, that's all 15 and 12 on the E string. All right, and then we're 12, 13 on the B, 12 on the G. It's basically part of a D shape. That's actually a C chord. Now we're going to stay over here for a little bit. We're going to stay in this scale. In this 5/7, 5/7, 5/6 on the B. And then we're going to go again. Same lick, except we're adding then the 8th fret here on the B. And then you go a little bit further, and then you're going to go on the high E string, and you're going to go. All right, we're just 8/5, 8/5, like I think it's 4 times on the high E, and you're going to end up on 8 on the B. Make sure too, like I said, the whammy bar is happening throughout. This one's really kind of cool because he's right, really aggressive on the vibrato. And now we're going to go back. We're going to kind of start what we just did earlier. All right, staying in that scale. 5/7, 5/7, 5/6, 5/7, 5 on the G. 8, 6, 5 on the B, 7, 5 on the G. That goes right down the C major scale. That's all that is. And you can play it, there's a variety of different ways, as long as you're just descending the scale. Then, to finish it out, we're going to go. We're sliding 5 to 7 on the D, 5 on the G, 8 on the B. Then we're going to do something similar, but we're going to do up on the top 3 string. So we're sliding 5 to 7 on the G, 5 on the B string, 7 on the high E string. Now this pattern we just did, you can do the exact same thing, but we're now going to be on 10 and 12. We add one note there. Instead of letting this ring out, we're going to go. So that ends on 10 on the B. And then we go way up here. So the fingering is going to be really important here. I'm using the middle on 17 on the G. Pointer fingers playing 15 on the B. Back to 17 on the G. And then we're going to get our little finger up here on 20 on that high E string. There you have it. There is the song.